Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Planet X News, April 21st, 2019. And listen, folks, we have some incredible Planet X captures today. And I want to first start by thanking Mark over at the Blue Kool-Aid channel. You know, Mark's been doing some fantastic work ever since he's come on with me, actually. He's been learning a lot. We've been learning a lot from each other, actually. And he's become a true friend and confidant. But anyways, you know, both of us have some very, very strange hours that we keep. And, well, I think it was about 4:30 this morning. I was just getting up and getting ready to go into my daily motions. And Mark sent me a text message, and he said, hey, you know, there was another coronal mass ejection on the sun. And I said, oh, really? You know, I'm just having a cup of coffee here. Let's go check this out. And he had already taken a few still photographs from the stereo core 2. And at that time, there really wasn't a lot of data that was out there. And it seems as of lately, this data has been coming out slower and slower. And, you know, that makes me very, very suspicious when that happens. And also, we still haven't had any data coming from the SEEDS website, which both me and Mark use on a daily basis. Still to this day, I think it's been 9 or 10 days that we've had no data. So anyways, folks, whenever we started going back and forth and we were trying to search everywhere for some data on this second coronal mass ejection, because we had one on the 20th and then we had another one early this morning. Now, these are both related to that sunspot 2738. Now, there was another small sunspot traveling behind this 2738. It was labeled naturally 2739. But what I'm going to show you is pretty breathtaking, and possibly for one of the first times we may be getting a look at multiple objects, just not this main stellar core object, not just this main monster, as I call it. So let's just get right into this. I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this thumbnail. And before we go ahead and jump into that, I want to show you guys something. And let me just go ahead and expand my screen. Hey, I want to ask real quick, can all of you guys hear me real good? I was playing around with my microphone earlier, and I don't know if I screwed up the audio, but if you could all hear me real good, just let me know. But anyways, folks, what you're looking at here is the CME tracker, and I slowed this down, and this is a model that we use quite frequently. And let me just explain, follow my cursor here real quick. Let me go ahead and put this into a looping mode. Okay. What we have here, you have the sun right here in the center. You see the little white dot. And we have the Earth way over here. And we have Venus right here where my cursor is. And we have, Mercury right there. Okay, you're going to see the sun emit this coronal mass ejection. It's identified by that trailing loop that you see right there. Now, both Mercury and Venus both took these coronal mass ejections. At the time that I recorded this, and they have not yet updated the CME tracker for this second CME. So anyways, what I was looking at was a connection with Venus and the sun, possibly producing that coronal mass ejection. And as the morning went on, I started poking around and trying to get this damn data. Because for some reason, again, folks, this should be real damn time. This data should be real time. And I don't know what the deal is, but they've been lagging 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 hours, sometimes even 12 hours, but whatever. So you can see this coronal mass ejection. It came out, and I thought for a moment that the reason why this coronal mass ejection occurred from the sunspot 2738 was because it was making a connection with Venus. That was my initial thought. Now, I don't think that anymore. Because Mark came up with the initial photographs and what he was looking at minutes after he started looking at the core 2, he noticed something. And I'm going to be quite honest, folks. He's got a good eye. He's got a really good eye, because the photograph that he sent me was a little pixelated. And we get a lot of that on the stereo core 2 imaging, especially if there's a coronal mass ejection. It seems to interfere with the sensors on the spacecraft, and we get this real crackly, pixelated view, and we could really never get a clear observation. But anyways, between the two of us, I started doing some more homework and waiting for some of this data to come out. And wait till you see what I've captured. I mean, it's actually blown my mind. So let's go ahead and jump out of here. And we all saw the coronal mass ejection. I had actually looked at it on Cactus, and when I tried to record it, download it, it just gave me this big gigantic green streak right through the video. So there was something there possibly that they did not want me to see, or they did not want us to see. So let's just get right into this. Now I'm going to go ahead and bring these photographs up. And this was the coronal mass ejection that was yesterday on April 20th, UTC time, about 2 a.m. And you can see, it doesn't look like much of anything, does it? Well, check this out. This is where my analytical mind really starts to tick. If you look right here, you can see a very large circular object kind of amassed within this plume coming from the coronal mass ejection. To most people, that wouldn't look like anything. And I want you to pay very close attention to this small gray mass right down here. Okay? Now, again, to just a layman person, this wouldn't look like anything. You would say to yourself, Scott, you're crazy. You need glasses. You don't know what you're looking at. Because I get a lot of that, folks. I get a lot of that. Oh, you don't know what you're looking at. Yeah, yes, I do, folks. I've been looking at these satellite models and these satellite cameras for years and years and years and years. And there's just something now that I can literally just pick these things out. And sure enough, today was one of those days. And again, big shout out to Mark over at the Blue Kool-Aid channel. He started this little investigation of ours at about 5 o'clock this morning. So good job. But I convert all of these images now to an ultra high definition so we can get a better view. And this image right here has been converted, and you can see we can zoom into it really far. We don't get those pixelizations anymore that kind of obscure our view. So yeah, we can see a little bit of a round creature right there, and something is amiss right down here. But you know what, folks? It's not crystal clear, so I wouldn't even call that evidence. But don't leave your seat just yet. So we started looking a little bit further and further, and about an hour to 2 hours later, some more information started coming out. They started releasing this damn data. And I was using a different version of the Stereo Core 2 coronagraph. And lo and behold, we notice this shadow right here. And this shadow is kind of spherical. And there's a smaller dark area up here. Now, folks, again, looking at this, you would say, nah, there's nothing here. I'm not even going to watch this live stream anymore. But you know what, folks? Don't do that. Don't even go get your popcorn. Stay right where you're at, because I'm about to blow your freaking mind. Okay? So this started leading me to dig a little bit deeper. I changed a few filters on this new program that I have and stacked a few of these images because I wanted to see what is there. Now, you see this pixelization that's forming right here? That always makes me become a little suspect, because that pixelization isn't appearing anywhere else. It's just appearing in those two sections. But they really didn't do their homework over at Stereo. So as I zoom in a little bit, okay, now there is a shadowy figure right there. And you could see it's quite spherical. They only blocked, I'd say maybe about 1/3 of it. And it's very easy to pixelize something, folks. Whenever you're using just basic photography programs, you can obscure something by blurring it out with pixels. The same thing right here. If you look very, very closely at this, you can see there is something very, very round and very odd right there. But why would the rest of the photograph not be completely pixelated? It should all look like this, but it doesn't. So I stacked a few of these images and I started using some of these different techniques that I've been learning. And sure enough, if this is an explosion, ladies and gentlemen, a violent coronal mass ejection spewing from the sun, I mean, this would be equivalent to, 100 atomic bombs. Why would there be a dark shadow here and a dark shadow there? And these coronal mass ejections came from two different areas on the sun. One came from up here and one came from down here. But we didn't have any sunspot down here. That sunspot 2738 and 39, they were up here, not down here. So that started, getting my mind cooking a little bit more. And again, just another color change with this new programming. And I'm looking, and I could zoom in really, really far with this new program because it compresses all of the pixels almost to the point where the picture now becomes smooth if it is pixelated. But again, I'm looking in this region here, and I'm like, nah, there got to be something there, man. That's not looking right. One more color change. Again, you don't see too much. And we could zoom in all the way. But as I start to look at this, I start seeing something taking shape. And again, just taking shape. But again, it's not crystal clear. And I like to deal, in crystal clear. So this wasn't too good. This green texture didn't work out too well. And I had to wait, probably, I think I had to wait about 4 to 6 more hours before I was able to get some of the photographs that I'm going to show you guys now. But let me explain something to you. This is a still photograph that I took from that CME tracker, okay? And I labeled some things on here after I made my discoveries. And Let's just zoom in here so you guys can see this real good. The white circle in the middle, that's going to be the sun. And you have Venus here in the green, and you have little Mercury here in the orange. Earth is way over here. I'm telling you something right now, folks. If this situation occurred at a different time, when Earth was aligned with Venus, I think today we would have had a completely different outcome with this coronal mass ejection. I think we would have had some serious issues here on Earth. Now, I've been tracking earthquakes all day since this has occurred, and let me tell you, earthquakes across the entire globe have actually picked up. Seismic activity is right now off the chart, and I'll show all of that later on. But after I detected this object, I pinpointed it and I placed it right here with the red circle with the X. That is exactly where this object is in the photographs. That object is directly in line with those coronal mass ejections. That object that we refer to as Planet X, that object caused these coronal mass ejections. That was the culprit. Listen, folks, the reason why I say this is because I have seen this many times before, where monitoring a sunspot, the sunspot moves past the Earth-facing position. Then it gets to the west limb, or the right side of the sun with our view, and then it gets a little bit behind, and then, bingo, that sunspot explodes, and we have a coronal mass ejection. So there must be something within the orbit of Planet X orbiting around our sun and the timing and the position of Earth that is literally been letting us off the hook. And when I mean off the hook of a direct coronal mass ejection coming straight towards Earth. But because our magnetic shield, our magnetopause, is weakening because of the solar minimum that we're now dipping into, if and when a coronal mass ejection does come towards the Earth, we're going to be in some serious trouble, depending on how strong that CME is. And even a small CME, during a time when our magnetic shield is low, we're not going to have that protection like we used to. So even a small CME is going to cause some damage. We've already had 2 volcanoes blowing off first thing this morning. We have earthquakes worldwide. And when I mean worldwide, I mean worldwide. The Earth right now, the earthquake map is polluted with earthquakes, all above magnitude 4, 4.5, 5.5. They're everywhere. So this is what I was looking very, very closely at. This connection between the sun, Planet X, and you might as well say that Venus definitely played a part in all of this. It created a very, very nice planetary alignment. That was enough to crack those 2 CMEs off on April 20th and April 21st. The first one was kind of moderate. This second one was much, much larger. And I've got actual high definition video of that I recorded from the Helio viewer. So let's go ahead and get out of here. So you guys all understand where I'm going with this. You see this red dot right there. Okay, that red dot with the X in it, it is going to, well, I'm going to show you exactly in the photographs where that object was. And what I've mapped out here for you right now is correct. That object was in that position during that coronal mass ejection, and it allowed me to capture not just one, not just two, but possibly three different objects. Hold on one second, folks. We got to kick somebody out of the live chat for being stupid. So anyways, let's go ahead and jump out of this. And Now, this was the whole shot of the stereo ahead core 2 coronagraph. And again, you can start to see that there is something here. It's quite spherical, and it's enveloped in that coronal mass ejection. So again, this really started me going with, I need more data. So a few hours later, on the SOHO and LASCO coronagraphs, the data started coming out. And I really couldn't capture anything from viewing the video, because the video is not actually a video. They are still photographs taken every 12 to 16 minutes and then put into a video that just loops back and forth. So sometimes it's very hard to capture something. I waited till all of the still photographs were available, and I went and I looked at each and every one of them. And that took, quite a bit of time, man. But I was passing by through these photographs, and I said, oh, holy hell, what the hell is that? There it is. So, bingo. Now, this is a massive explosion coming from the sun. There is not going to be any type of perfect sphere within that coronal mass ejection. I mean, this is a big, massive spewing of plasma and debris coming from the sun. How in the hell would it maintain a perfect spherical shape? It's literally impossible. So this was the very beginning of this coronal mass ejection. You can see by the white area right here. Down here, there was another coronal mass ejection that occurred, and that one occurred on the 20th. This one occurred on the 21st. Two totally different areas. No sunspot here. The other sunspots were right up here. So this started to lead me, okay, there's definitely something there. So I started moving on, and this was a full view of it. This was for the 20th. And bingo, if you start to really look at it, and I converted all of these to high definition, no pixelization, no nothing. This is the best that you're going to get for public viewing. So bingo, we have the object right here, and it's coming from the back side of the sun, and it's passing by. And this is what I keep saying, folks, that this object is orbiting our sun. It orbits our sun in about a 28-day pattern. It has a very eccentric orbit, which means a kind of a sharp diagonal orbit around the sun. And I do believe that it dips below the ecliptic and then comes back up and around. And all of this is done with inside of the orbit of Mercury. Even though Mercury is very, very close to the sun, this is all happening inside of the orbit of Mercury, not outside. Okay, that's how close this object is to our sun. So again, we get a full view of it right here. And another view. And I kind of enhanced this a little bit because, again, I'm real analytical. I want to make sure that what I'm seeing is for real. Now, this next photograph, sorry for blinding you with this. but I converted the image over to a negative in high definition because I want to see what is underlying in these photographs. And then sure enough, as I'm looking at this, you have a very, very hot zone right here, which is the beginning plume of the coronal mass ejection. What do you see right there? You see a perfect outline of a sphere. We can zoom in a little further. It won't even pixelate. So again, this really started getting me going. I'm like, oh man, absolutely. There is something there. There is definitely something there. And I started looking down below here and I said, oh, well, you know, that doesn't look too clear. But my main focus, right there. Right there, man. So again, I continue to convert the photographs into different formats so I can start to see what is truly there. And this is a black and white photograph. And not only is it a black and white photograph, but I used another method to remove different colors. And the main color of the C2 Soho coronagraph is red, that red background. So whenever I was using this technique today, I removed all of the red background. I even removed yellow and orange in colors, even though they don't appear on that coronagraph. Within this program, I was removing these colors so I can get a clear view of what was engulfed in that CME. And sure enough, bingo, looky what we got there. And this object is literally, it is starting to get engulfed in this coronal mass ejection. You can see it right there, clear as a bell. And, you know, once I got to this point, I'm thinking to myself, oh boy, we're going to see something even better. You know, let's keep going. And sure enough, I did. And in this photograph, I added a little bit of an orange background so I can try to bring out a little bit more detail. And sure enough, the object is right there. It is passing by the sun. Now, don't ask me how fast, because there's no way for me to tell how fast this object is moving. I wish I did, but I believe that the reason why these CMEs went off yesterday and today is because this object made a connection, a magnetic connection between Venus, Planet X, and the Sun. That caused this coronal mass ejection. That's my thought. Because we watched that sunspot for days and days and days, and it had a lot of activity. And then it degraded. It degraded for days. No possibilities, no hopes of a coronal mass ejection. Now we throw in a stellar core object, probably 7 to 10 times the size of Jupiter, with a very, very powerful magnetic field. Now we align that object with Venus and the Sun, and bingo. That weak spot on the Sun that we refer to as that sunspot, boom, 2 explosions back to back. So let's move on to the next picture. Again, this is just another black and white. I just added a little bit more tone to this in this program, and sure enough, we can see it. And the coronal mass ejection is pointed directly to that object. And it's enveloped it. Now, folks, over the years, I've captured this same. Hold on one second. Let's get rid of another troll here real quick. Okay. I've captured this same scenario over and over and over again. Okay. So whenever we start to see these coronal mass ejections, that's telling me one thing, that Planet X is nearby and it may be a great opportunity to get some photographic evidence once again. So let's move on. Now, again, using this new program, this program allows me to remove all of the pixels, get absolutely ultra high definition photographs, no pixels whatsoever. So let's take a look at this. And we can zoom in to the point where it's your whole entire screen is full, and again, there's no pixels. So I put these two side by side, and again, I'll show you how far we could zoom in. I mean, I could zoom in all the way. No pixels, baby. So as we start to pan back out, bingo. We see this object here. There's a faint object here, and we're going to get to that. Let's pan across over here. We have our object here in full color. We have it here in black and white. I just put these on top of each other, but they're the same identical photographs. Now, here's where things really start to get interesting, folks. And here's where we may have captured not one, not two, but possibly three of these objects. Let me just zoom in here. I took these off of the Helio Viewer program, LASCO C2. You can see the date right here. Now, you see this object right here? Let's just put this in full screen. Bingo. There it is. Now that more of the data has come out, I literally had to go through this in 5-minute increments. It took quite a long time. During that period of time, I'm looking at this coronal mass ejection, and I'm going through the slides 5 minutes at a clip, 5 minutes at a clip. And I said to myself, oh my God, look at that. There it is. There is a beautiful, clear shot. And this was during the almost complete extension of this coronal mass ejection. And all of these little white dots that you see here, those aren't stars, folks. That's actually matter being exploded out of the sun. Solid matter. So this was a pretty violent coronal mass ejection. So let's go ahead and let's get this photograph right in our face. So we see it right here. And as I'm looking at this, and I brought Dr. Albers in on this, and I said, just look at this photograph and tell me if you see anything else in this picture. And she went immediately right there. And if you take a look, folks, you can see a perfect, absolutely perfect outline. The plasma burst from the coronal mass ejection has enveloped this entire object. Let me zoom in. You see that perfect line of a sphere? That is absolutely perfect. You can stick a compass in the center of it, extend it out, and draw a perfect circle. Now, in a coronal mass ejection, that's absolutely impossible for these types of spherical shapes to occur. There is no way in hell that can occur unless there was a large spherical body right there being enveloped by the coronal mass ejection. So as we pan out, we see the darker object, which is out ahead of this object. This object is a little bit trailing behind. And here we go. This object is a little bit further in front. Now, look right down here. Right down here, we have another mass. That to you guys right now on your screen, it may not look like anything. But I'm going to show you that it's actually something. It's actually a smaller body, a smaller sphere. So we'll just pull out of the whole picture. That way you can see it all at one time. You have one body enveloped here. You have one clear as a bell right in your face, and another one right here enveloped in parts of the coronal mass ejection. And you can see the coronal mass ejection is making its way around that object. So it would be like, shooting a flamethrower at a ball. The flamethrower is going to hit the object and then work around it. So just try to picture that in your mind. Let's move on to the next picture real quick. Now here's the photograph in a high definition black and white. And this makes things even more clear. Again, let's zoom up here. Now, just follow the outline. That is a perfect sphere. There is no possible way in nature or in space that a coronal mass ejection, a massive explosion, can form a perfect sphere with inside of the explosion. It just can't happen. So what that is telling me, there is a large spherical planetary body right there, enveloped in this coronal mass ejection. I would put my life on it. Here's the other dark object right here. I mean, that is absolutely 100% undeniable. If you deny right now, if you deny what you are seeing on your screen, you must go get your head examined. I mean, honestly, if you don't wear glasses, go see an eye doctor. The fact of the matter is, we're looking at 3 of these objects. And I've been saying for years, I haven't been able to capture all of these objects at once. So it was very hard for me to prove that there were multiple objects. Like everybody was saying, the old Nemesis theory, the Nibiru theory, blah, 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 blah. And I've mentioned many times before that sometimes brown dwarf stars do travel in clusters. I watched a 3-hour seminar from Harvard University back in 2017 where they were looking at some of the WISE data and some of the plates that they were looking at in this big seminar with astrophysicists and astronomers. They were observing 6 brown dwarf stars on this one WISE observer, or the WISE plate. They just basically get these plates. And 6 months later, they looked at it again, and the cluster of 6 brown dwarf stars had now departed each other. They all broke apart, and they were moving in other directions. 2 of those brown dwarf stars had other small planetary objects orbiting around them. So this is all highly possible. So again, as we back the photograph out, we have one here, we have one here, and we have the small one right there. And it's perfectly spherical. It is engulfed in the lower part of that CME. This is, I'm going to be quite honest with you folks. Today, this is really freaking me out today because, for many years, I've just been trying to track this one object. And I've been busting my ass trying to find evidence of the other bodies, if they were truly there. Today, April 21st, 2019, I could solidly say with clear observational evidence today that there are now more than one object orbiting our damn sun. To me, what we're looking at on our screen is pure, hardcore evidence. Other than working for NASA or the European Space Agency and having access to unedited footage from these space telescopes, because they're the only ones that really are going to have the best damn evidence on this earth. But little by little, slowly but surely, we are acquiring this evidence. And today, you are seeing clear evidence of more than one object orbiting our sun. I mean, the small object here is really not that clear. But when we go back and we look at the other photographs before the high definition, we can see there was something down here. And remember, I said we couldn't make it out? And sure enough, we have 1, 2, 3. And you see how close these objects are to each other. Either something has occurred out there around our sun that has pulled these objects closer together, or this was just a 1 in a million shot today. That for the first time, I was able to capture 3 of these objects. 2 of them are massive. And when I mean massive, those objects have to be at least 10 times the size of Jupiter. At least. Now, it's very hard to judge this size because there's really no depth perception when you're looking at a flat still photograph. But when you're looking at the helio viewer and you see this big black circle right here, that circle is the size of the sun on this view. Okay, that occulter is blocking out the sun so we can see this coronal mass ejection with the backdrop of space behind it. So if you compare how many of these objects can you fit inside of this circle? Let's see, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, possibly 10. I mean, I could be wrong about the actual size, but let's just say between 7 and 10 times the size of Jupiter. So from this view, it looks like we can fit maybe 7 to 10 of these objects across or inside of our sun. That's massive. And this has just totally blown me away today. I lightened this up just a little bit in this next photograph. If you didn't notice, I switched to another photo. But again, let's zoom in up here. We can see the perfect outline. Perfect. This object is actually trailing behind this bad boy. And then down here, we have our other smaller body. Now remember, folks, these objects are engulfed in a violent plasma explosion coming from the sun. This is probably one of the only ways that we get to see this object is because of the coronal mass ejections. Remember, these objects do not emit their own light. They're not stars like Spica and all of these other bright stars in our solar system. These are dead stars, possibly. They do not emit any light. So therefore, the only way that you're really going to be able to see them, if you have the technology, would be from a ground-based observatory telescope with infrared technology, and you would really have to catch a break to spot one of these objects from the ground. Now, in discussing some matters with Dr. Albers, we were talking about what people may possibly be seeing in our skies besides lens flares and besides those pink objects that people see on the FAA weather cams. Dr. Albers talks a lot about these objects being, well up in the atmosphere of Earth. But folks, I get a lot of you asking me repetitively the same question over and over and over and over again. And I don't know if you're trying to trick me or trick Dr. Albers in what we're telling you, but we're not looking at these massive objects in the Earth's upper atmosphere. Okay? That would be physically impossible. We would all be dead. But there is a very, very high possibility that there are objects that have been pulled in with these larger objects that would be the size of large meteors or large asteroids. Have all of you noticed the increase in meteor activity around the Earth since 2016? Where are they all coming from? So that is a little bit of a theory that we're still bouncing around, because in order to do real research, not just be some YouTuber guy that wants to show you weird pictures from webcams, but to get down into the hardcore science of what is actually happening, you have to have hardcore evidence, and you have to be able to explain it. What we're looking at here today, to me, I don't know about all of you, but to me, this is a massive breakthrough. Because today, I can confirm for myself, I don't know about you guys, I can confirm to myself that I am now truly seeing multiple invaders around our sun, orbiting our sun, creating coronal mass ejections, interfering with our sun. And folks, I'm going to be dead damn honest with you right now. As our sun keeps dipping further and further and further into this solar minimum, this isn't going to be your average solar minimum. Every 11 years, they say the sun goes to sleep. Solar activity becomes very, very low. Remember, the Earth's protective shield, our magnetosphere, our magnetopause, our shield, it works from the magnetic field output from the sun. So if the sun's magnetic field gets weaker, what happens? So does the Earth's. So whenever small coronal mass ejections occur, the Earth is going to get hit harder. We are going to lose our protection, more of our protection from cosmic rays, solar radiation, bombarded by particles from the solar wind. There is a very, very, very high chance in the time to come we are going to see earthquake activity on this planet like we have never seen before. And the same is going to apply with volcanic activity. Ladies and gentlemen, why do you think that all of these politicians are crying the blues about climate change, severe climate change? Because somebody has leaked information out to them. Look, I know all of you know who this Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is. Somebody has leaked something to her because she is out there blabbing and flapping her gums about, the earth is going to be uninhabitable in 12 years. Well, guess what, folks? The solar minimum is 11 years. There are scientists out there stating right now, excuse me, that this solar minimum, we can feel the effects of it not just 11 years, but possibly 15. So it's kind of making me wonder if they're playing some more games within these damn politics. Are they literally putting that message out there to everyone? Because we are already seeing the massive changes in our climate. More powerful storms. Look at the two back-to-back bomb cyclones that we had in the central part of the United States. They were cyclones of snow. They were literally cyclones in the middle of the United States of America. Could you only imagine what would happen if one of those cyclones was out in the Atlantic Ocean and hit the East Coast shoreline of the United States or up into the Gulf of Mexico? All of you saw that play out a few weeks ago, back to back. That was a snowstorm that literally came out of nowhere. We're already seeing the massive amount of flooding in the central part of the United States. And folks, that is going to get worse in the weeks to come. Mark my words. We're going to see flood stages from probably the Canadian border all the way up near Minnesota, all the way down through the central part of the United States, all the way down to the Mississippi, where the Mississippi reaches the Gulf of Mexico. We're already seeing a massive increase in really, really high strength tornadoes. Just the other day, another small town wiped off the face of the earth, gone. We are seeing torrential downpours of rain right now over in Iran. Oh my God. It's like they live in the tropics. Greece, the same thing. This is going to start happening all over the world, folks. We're going to go through bouts in different areas around the world with extreme heat, extreme cold. Extreme heat, extreme cold. We are already seeing a massive amount of ice melt in the North Pole to the point where all of the old ancient ice is gone. That is going to cause big problems. Well, let me rephrase that. That has already caused huge problems in the Atlantic and the Pacific Oceans. There are climatologists out there that are now starting to open their mouth. Thank God. Thank God. But it's not going to do us any good, because we are only in the beginning stages of what is about to happen. I don't mean to sit here and act like Donnie Downer, but the facts are the facts. And I've been warning people of this since I came onto YouTube and presented my evidence that I've been researching for the past 20 years. Some people may think I'm a kook. Some people may say there's no credibility to what you're saying. They said that back in 2016. They said it again in 17 and 18. And guess what, folks? Everything that I said back then is now coming full circle, and it's staring each and every one of us right in the face. It is literally like staring down the double barrel of a shotgun and just waiting for somebody to pull that trigger. We are going to be heading into some of the hardest times that humanity has ever gone through, modern humanity. You can search all through the Bible all you want. Yes, you will see catastrophic events that occurred. But folks, I'm going to tell you something right now. We're dealing with modern man. We can't, continually look back to the past and dwell on the past. We have to deal with what is happening right here, right now, and worry about what our very near future is going to be like. I'm telling you right now, you are going to see an increase in the cost of food. That is coming very, very soon. You may start to see the effects of food prices going sky high, possibly by June or July, but definitely throughout this summer. We may possibly start to see a rise in meat products, beef and chicken. I think we're going to see rises in the cost of milk also, eggs. Definitely costs are going to go up with the production of wheat and grains. And a lot of the foods that you buy in boxes at the grocery store that you have to make on your stove, they have wheat byproducts. And if these companies don't have these products to make their product to put on the store shelf, they're going to have to pay more for it. And you know damn well they're going to pass that right off to us. We're probably going to see increases in the cost of gasoline. We shouldn't, but I think we will. I think California is already seeing that cost increase as we speak. Folks, don't let anybody fool you or tell you any different. If you're listening to me right now and you watched the evidence that I just showed you and you've been watching my YouTube channel for 6 months, a year, or a couple of years, you know damn well the evidence that I have shown each and every one of you. It's becoming harder and harder and harder because of all of the censoring on social media. It's going to get to the point once again where they're going to say, you know what? That guy over there on Planet X News, he's getting too mouthy again. Yeah, we may have to shut him down. Folks, I just ended a legal battle with YouTube the other day. Okay? I've been embroiled in a legal battle with them for the last 3 weeks. Finally, I think it was on Thursday, if I'm not mistaken, Thursday or Friday, I finally got the email after they got multiple legal briefs from me and my attorney. Finally, with I'm not going to go into it too much, but with a little bit of a legal threat, they backed off and they gave me my live stream capability back because, I haven't been able to live stream for like 3 weeks. I had to use their Premiere feature to get videos out there. Today, right now, you're actually listening to me live, not pre-recorded, not using their Premiere feature. So they sent this very nice apologetic email, and that's that. So I won that battle with them. But damn, it cost me like almost $1,000 in legal fees to my attorney. And I can't keep that up. I don't have that kind of money to just throw away. So that is one of the main reasons why we started the private network. The link is in the description box under all of our videos. We have over like 130 followers and subscribers and members already. We get great reviews from them. They like the idea. We're now releasing Dr. Albers' reports onto our private network site. If you are a full member, You can download Dr. Albers' reports, and you can now use her reports and do your own videos. Just don't misrepresent her material, okay? Because the first time you do that, I'm going to be on your ass. But if you want to start creating your own YouTube videos and you want to download her reports, it's accessible right through our private network. But you have to be a main member. That's $10 a month. Nothing I can do about it, folks. Listen, it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of money to do what I do. Look, I am far and above these other YouTube channels that just sit there and show you lens flares and blab and talk a bunch of crap about biblical prophecy and all this other crap. I show you hardcore evidence and I bring the science right to you. That's what I do. That's what I've been doing. You know, I look at some of these other YouTube channels that you know, they all jump on this Planet X and Nibiru bandwagon, and they're nothing but a bunch of flim-flams. You know, they're out there looking for YouTube views. Do they really truly care about humanity? No, they don't. They care about getting money from YouTube on these spectacular videos, but they don't show you anything. They don't prove anything to you. And, you know, a lot of you have asked me, hey, could you take a look at this channel? Could you take a look at that channel? And then whenever I do, I get all this flack from, you know, the wacky subscribers that start to filter into the comment section of my videos. I don't care. I'll delete your ass 1, 2, 3. I got no problem with that. Mind your manners when you're in my live chat on a live stream, and mind your manners in the comment section under my videos, because if you don't, I'll ban you and I'll delete your comments. I got no problem with that. None. You want to ask legitimate questions? Ask them. But don't do stupid things. You're an adult. Act like one. But ladies and gentlemen, today is one of those red letter days. We have clear observational evidence right now of not one, not two, but 3 of these objects. You want to go out there and give them names? Give them names. Call them whatever you want. But these objects were the main cause of these 2 coronal mass ejections on April 20th and 21st. Now, you ask, what will happen next? Well, I don't think from this point on, for the rest of this month, I don't think that we will see another coronal mass ejection. I may be wrong. These objects have already moved past, so it is more than likely that we will not see another coronal mass ejection for possibly another 2 weeks. But again, I can be wrong. We're dealing with, you know, solar dynamics and planetary dynamics. There are so many variables, it's hard to predict. But I'll be watching it. You can guarantee Mark over at the Blue Kool-Aid channel, he'll be watching it. And I'm going to be quite honest, folks. If you really want to stay tuned to 2 good channels, you will stay tuned to Planet X News, and you will get over there and subscribe to Mark's channel. If you just go to the search box on YouTube, type in Blue Kool-Aid, and you'll see his logo come up. Make sure you get over there, subscribe, click that little black bell button. Make sure your notifications are set up, and go to your cell phone also. Pull up YouTube, look at your subscriptions, make sure that you are subscribed to get notifications, because YouTube is monkeying around with that bell feature and that notification feature again. They're getting ready to roll out some new technical crap that they're doing in the background. So you want to get your notifications. If you don't see anything coming from my channel or Mark's channel within a 24 to 48 hour period, then get off your butt, open up your computer or your app, and come to our YouTube channels and look for updated information. And yeah, folks, you could tell I'm pretty hopped up today. I'm pretty hyped up today because I'm excited for the first time. I'm actually able to see multiple objects and say to myself, yes, that theory was correct. There's more than one of these monsters out there. Folks, if you want to join our private network for Planet X News, get in the description box, click on that link. All the information's right there. Become one of our private members because I'm able to show a lot more evidence and information on a lot of things that I can't bring here to BoobTube on a daily basis. So join our network. It's private. It's censor-free, and you could also send me a private message, and you can comment, and you could like on the data that I'm putting up there every minute of every day. So, folks, I'm going to make these photographs available on the private network, and if you're not a member, get off your butt, click on that link, and go do it. This is Scott from Planet X News. Thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Be safe out there. There's a lot of wild weather heading our way. I had a bout with it yesterday here in Pittsburgh. We had violent storms, and we had 2 hailstorms back to back. So, Lord only knows what's out there for us. But be very, very safe and watch your weather. Stay tuned to Planet X News. And you will hear from me tomorrow. Take care, folks.